Okay, so I'm going to make a video of some basics of how to cut hair. Okay, so what we're going to do is start off cutting the perimeter. So it's the outside shape of what you want. And then we're going to do the internal parts. You start with the exterior, which is around here, which is around the outside, the exterior. And then this part here is the interior. So the way that you judge it is by going through the recession points, which is where the hair comes up and meets the front part of the hairline here. You take that around to the crown, all the way around to the other recession point. And that's how you can determine the interior and the exterior. So there's also another way to split up hair as well, and that's in like a T-section. So what you do, I'll just get you to hold that if you can, Mum. Yep, just there. So what you do is you just draw a line with the edge of your comb and you take it to the middle. Draw a line down the middle, straight to the crown, and separate that. And I'll just take that. And you follow this, so as you can see, I've taken it from the middle part of the front hairline to the middle of the crown, and then you take it from the crown. Let's get you straight. From the crown all the way to the back. Then you can separate that. As so. And then you go from the middle of the crown to the top of the ear. So middle of the crown to the top of the ear. And you can see that it separates quite easily and naturally. And then once you do the other side, as you can see, you've got a quarter, a quarter, a quarter, and another quarter. So you work with the perimeter first, and then you can separate in halves, work around the back using the middle as a guide, go around this quarter, and then this quarter, and then use what you've cut here as a guide and go towards the front, and then go towards the front of the other side. Okay, so I'm starting with the baseline with Mum's hair. Just combing it nice and naturally, keeping it against her neck. You got to remember there's a nape here, so if you actually want to, if you take it with your fingers, you want it to fall natural there, or you can use the comb to hold it. So I'll do it with my other hand so you can see the camera. You can actually slide the scissors under, and you can see it just sits naturally as a natural fall there. I can use the comb as a guide. I was cutting off some long hairs, but I'll go in them with the neck trimmer afterwards. So going back to our centre parting, which went from the front to the crown, down the middle. Take that again, separate that. I'll use about 1/2 centimetre either side. So I've got a nice little section as such. And then what I'm going to do is use that as the base and pull it out 90 degrees. I'm going to follow the natural head shape so there's no bulk falling out along here, because if you go straight down, that's going to stay thick and then fall in a big chunk here. So I'm going to pull this out and pull this out, and then I'm going to visualize a nice line of the length that I want and the way that it falls. And then I'm going to follow the natural line of the head, so the way it comes out and then goes in around the nape and then down. So I'm using point cutting, and the way I'm doing this is I keep this blade straight and I only use the thumb blade. Very similar to what you use with what's called club cutting. You keep it straight and you only use the thumb blade. Tilt your head forward a little bit. So now I've cut that first section. What you do is when you take the next one, you can direct it forward, which will make this bit go longer and the next section shorter. So you'll actually get a slight graduation, or you can bring it all back, which will do the opposite. I'm taking it out 90 degrees for Mum's hair, and if I push the hair down, you can see the previously cut section, which is here. Then if I comb it up, there's the extra bits. So I cut along that line of what I previously cut, and that's called a guideline. And you just work with that guideline, depending on how you want the layers. Like I said, if you want to bring them all together, these bits are obviously going to have to travel longer into here, so it's going to graduate or taper longer, and vice versa. So if you take it all out and cut it this way and bring it in, it's going to be longer in the middle and shorter towards this side. So another thing is, what you do is use these first from the fingertip to the second knuckle. If you go anything beyond that, you're basically using too much finger, so you'll start to cut your fingers. So you just go inch by inch. And just cut to that bit, then the next. You can actually see right here, there's only a little bit to cut, so let's cut this long bit. And I'll take the section again, make sure it's nice and tight. There you go. So you should be able to see right now, I've just done this quarter of Mum's hair, how much neater it's sitting. And then this hair is obviously longer. So then I split it in the middle, take a little bit of this side, a little bit of this side, use the guide of this and cut along the line and work along section by section till I get to the middle of the ear, as per the T section. So the back of the middle again, I use the comb, pick up this section, a few long bits, cut, 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 cut. So you can definitely see what I've cut previously here to the longer parts here. And if I pull that longer section, longer part of the hair back on the left. You can see where I've previously cut along there. So it's there. Yeah? Cut, 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 cut. And the next bit, work your way down, pretty much inch by inch. So you can definitely see it there. Cut, 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 cut. And then you just work your way around to the other side. So I'll show you once again. All these sections out. Make sure it's nice and taut. See where I've cut previously along here. And you can see where I've cut along there, the guide. With that knuckle on my fingertip. If you're holding it tight enough, you can move it down if you need to, as long as your fingers aren't slipping. There you go. Okay, so now I've done the back half. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I've still got that middle parting, so I'm going to take about 1 centimetre, middle parting, just to the front of the ear, because we took it to the middle of the ear. So just take it to the front of the ear, comb this bit forward, and then I'm going to take 1 centimetre behind the ear. And grab both these pieces together, pick them up, and then I've got the guide from behind, and I'm going to use that to work through the front. If I wish to make it to go longer, I can pull it back, so it graduates a little bit longer at the front, or vice versa. Follow the head shape once again. Clean this up. It's essentially just drawing lines. So, it is. So I use this finger to balance the scissors. You can see that's the shape line. I've just given it some slack so I can cut it more horizontally, more ergonomically. So then I then split this in half again, and take a little bit more. And it's always better to have a thicker guideline than a thicker amount to cut, otherwise you'll lose the guideline. Pick it up. See, because the guideline's thicker. Doing 90 degrees, a little bit more of what's a round layer, taking a nice round shape. some slack. Come up here. And there we go. Take a little bit of this. I'm going to take another section. As it gets finer towards the front of the hairline, you want to direct it a little bit more back so you don't lose the hair, because it will disappear with the fineness of the hair that's around the hairline. The hair does get finer towards the front and it gets thicker towards the crown. So you want to give it a little bit of direction back. Around there. So my guidelines here. Six there. Just a little bit forward. Take this in the middle. And then with this front bit, how it's going to be a lot finer. Actually going to direct that 90 degrees to this section. Otherwise it's just going to turn into nothing. It's just going to disappear really quickly. I want to keep a little bit of length there. So you can definitely see the guideline there. And worst comes to worst, if there's still too much length, you can still see, if I come forward, there's a little bit too much. I can go through and fix all that shape up. I'm coming around this side, just keeping it, I think 90 degrees with the scissors. Just pick the hair up and just cut it. Now I'll do the same with the other side, and then we'll go ahead and do the fringe. Okay, so now I'm going to do a fringe. So for the fringe section, what you do is take it back. It's about 2 inches, so measure it to about here. And then you take it to the bottom of the recession point. And to the bottom of the other recession point. Okay, all this stuff forward, and there you have a fringe section. I might get it to slope a little bit this way, so if I bring it this way and cut it lengthwise, as it sweeps back the other way, it will actually get longer and have a slight graduation, so it'll be a very slight fringe. So comb it, and I'll actually direct it slightly this way. Cool. Okay, so now what we have to do, we have to dry it off. So I'm going to dry it off about 80% or so. I still want a little bit of moisture in there so I can manipulate it. And I've just taken the parting a little bit to the side, so the hair that I've cut will come over and give a little bit more body as it sits on top of the rest of the hair. I'm going to get into the roots first, okay, and then manipulate the ends, and I'll pretty much blow dry it as it sits. What I'll do first though, I'll start with the fringe and I'll blow dry the fringe, and then that can set. And then if it's a client, they can sit there and they've got the fringe blow dried, and when they look at themselves in the mirror, that's all right. And then I'll blow dry the rest of the hair, starting from the back, working my way through, very similar to the sections that, actually I'll work different to the sections that I took cutting, so I'll actually show you through these. I'll start from the back and I'll do diagonals, bring this down, the next diagonals to the back of the ear, bring all that down, and then from the crown round to the recession point, and then I'll bring all this back and down, and then this I bring to the side, and then this to the other side, and just follow it. It's pretty basic. So we're doing the back now. I can just separate the hair with the brush and just lift it, or you can use a clip. I've got a little bit of experience, so I can just separate it. And this hair I'm going to get with the neck trimmers afterwards. As you can see, the hair wants to kick out this way, so I'm going to counteract it and pull it back down the other way. You can see that it sits more straight now. Same the other side. Not everyone's hair is like that, so you just watch the person's hair that you're doing and watch how it wants to work and sit. So that's why you always brush it and analyse it. And afterwards I can go through, I can trim any slight stray bits and neaten them up, which is called personalising. Up there. You can pinch until they straighten out any kinks that look straightened. And because I'm leaving the blow dryer nice and flat, you can see that it's actually giving a nice shine to the hair. Shaping to the brush, see? Now, take this. Move this the other way. I can do this whole section all in one bit. So the crown's getting a little bit of body there. Chairs in the way. I can use my thumb to get more tension on the brush. do this part afterwards. Okay, so just a little squiz about how I'll show how it turned out. There's a few thicker parts here, but what I'm going to do now is personalize the haircut. So I'm going to go through and thin those out, just nice and lightly. So as you can see, she's got a lot of volume. It's actually come out quite well. There's a little bit of a thicker part just through here. So what I'm going to do is I use the scissors, blades closed. I'll pick up that little section. I'll get the comb underneath. I can see there's a little bit there that I can actually thin out and fix up. You can see it blends in a lot nicer now. There's a tiny bit of the guideline where it's gone out. Let's fix that up. There you go, it's nice and neat. And it's not bulky there anymore. So that's what's called personalizing. So I feel a little bit of fluff here. I've got some neck trimmers. So we'll gently go over our wet. Then when I get the comb, slide it up. Although I'm not taking out any of that baseline. As you can see, it gets nice and neat and takes all that hair out. Whereas this side, get the camera to show. Let's see if I can get it done. If I can show you properly. So this side hasn't been done yet. So I lift that up with a comb. As you can see, the hair's there. So I get under it with the neck trimmers and I'll take all that out and I'll leave it as neat as the other one. Okay, so now you can see that now that I've actually lifted up that hair and cut it off, you can see that it's now gone. It's nice and clean, nice and straight. So you can also check the length here, so there might be a couple of hairs there, so I can just comb that down. And if there's any hairs, there's a little bit here. I can go through, go the scissors, and just clean up that hairline. Baseline 100%. That's pretty much it. So this is no product, so I can always put like a little bit of product to help hold it. So yeah, voila.